Modules are a vital part of success in the first Descendant. Knowing when and how to use modules effectively in different builds can completely change the gameplay experience when it comes to your success or failure in the game. But before you can learn how to use modules, before you can upgrade the modules, before you can do anything with the modules, you first have to get the modules. There is a thick layer of RNG that blankets over the top of modules, especially when it comes to the Transcendent mods in particular. Transcendent mods have the ability to entirely change the loadout or kit of a character and drastically improve their effectiveness in combat. As I said previously, Transcendent mods are not always the easiest things to come by, especially when you're trying to complete the collection of all unique Transcendent mods available in the game. Today I share with you guys some of my strategies and knowledge I've gained in collecting all 561 modules. Particularly today we're going to focus on Transcendent mods and how you can more effectively focus farm certain ones when you're getting down into those final few ones you may be missing. So let's jump in here and let's help you guys get those final missing Transcendent mods. Now, when it comes to looter shooters and having many different sources and locations to earn loot from in the game, the first Descendant has all kinds of great tools to assist you in knowing where to look and where to focus farm. With modules, for example, you can go in here and you can scroll through the entire list of all available mods in the game. You can focus into certain weapon types. You can look at Descendant ones. From there, you can filter into different tiers of rarity. And it's really laid out very nicely in here. The first Descendant is almost like having a built-in Wikipedia in the game with this whole access info page they have. So if you do not know about this, be sure to take advantage of this. You can even come in here and, for example, if I wanted to see where to find this, you can click on this and see exactly where in a detailed list you can find all potential ways to get these modules. Some have a lot more means of acquisition methods than others, but that's just the way it goes. With modules, the most common ways to acquire them are either going to be the intercept boss fights, field missions, which are any type of mission out on the open world map in the zones, and finally, lastly, you can earn them from combining modules here at Mr. Cillion. So whenever you have excess or duplicate modules, they are not exactly a waste. You can use them and recycle them into the system that allows you to combine modules you have multiples of to use for a chance to get other Transcendent modules you may not have. In my experience, combining any type of Transcendent mods always guarantees a Transcendent mod back. You have higher chances of getting modules that match the socket typing on top as well if you want to focus into certain Transcendent types. So that will help you focus down on if you're missing a Transcendent C mod. If you have C mods, you want to combine those to give yourself the best odds of getting another C you might be missing. This example didn't go through so well, but as far as I know, the way the RNG works with combining modules, that is taken into account. Now, there is also a chance of getting Transcendent modules out of combining ultimates. It is not so common to happen, but it does indeed happen. I've had it happen multiple times in my time here. But this is basically the lottery for Transcendent modules here. This is a way to get nearly every single Transcendent mod in the game that comes from any other source, just with a bit of luck. You can somewhat control the odds of the type of module you'll get out of here, but at the end of the day, it's never a surefire way to get any mods. Side note, the only mods you cannot get out of combining are Enzo's mods, which you have to open Ultra Precision vaults to get, which are the purple Enzo vaults. And I believe you also need to be on Enzo as well when you open them, if I'm not mistaken, to have a chance at getting them. So save your purple keys for those. Now, as I said, combining modules does give a potential chance at getting any missing Transcendent mods you may have, whether it be from any Colossus fights or other field missions that are low % drop rates. But the entire pool of Transcendent mods is there, so when you're getting down to those last few Transcendent mods you may be missing from particular locations, it is not exactly the best way to go about focus farming those. Now, these three down here in particular all have something in common. So if we open the map here and go to Kingston, as we go around Kingston here, you can see that power unit change has a 2.5% acquisition chance from this particular mission over here. Magister Lab, the other dungeon mission here, also has one. Glacial Cloud, also a 2.5% acquisition chance. And lastly, the fusion reactor here has matrix recomputation, also a 2.5% chance. Now, those are the only 3 mods within the Kingston zone. So if we check the acquisition info on the modules here, we can see that one of these comes from Slumber Valley completion. The other one comes from Magister Lab completion. And the last one comes from the fusion reactor completion. And it tells you right here in a side note, based on completing it, this is a reward you could receive as a bonus for finishing something. Now, if you scroll down through these options, you will see lots of other viable sources of these drops that involve mission monsters. Now, mission monsters, when it comes to modules, refer to any yellow bar enemy. So when you're doing missions and you get those yellow bar strong mini boss guys or whatever, those all have a chance at dropping a Transcendent mod on the floor. Now, the way these are categorized is it is based in the regions the mods have a completion chance. So matrix recomputation here comes from the fusion reactor in Kingston. It also comes from completion of Caligo Ossuary in Agna Desert. That means that any yellow bar monsters anywhere in Kingston or Agna Desert all have an opportunity to drop this module. Now, you may be thinking, why would you not just do the mission? It has a clear-cut chance to drop specifically this module in that spot, but it's a 2.5% chance. And let me tell you, when it comes to missions where you got to complete the entire mission for a chance to get it to drop on completion, that's not a great turnaround rate. A 2.5% chance at, on average, 3 to 5 minutes, let's say, to complete an entire run of a mission is not going to net you too many chances. When it comes to farming Transcendent modules, quantity over quality of attempts really is the way to go when you can get it that way. So these 3 modules all share the benefits of coming from a Kingston particular drop, which means any mission monsters in Kingston have a chance to drop all 3 of these mods. If you happen to be missing all 3 of them, then why not farm one location that gives you a chance to get all 3 of them all simultaneously at the same time, way more efficiently than farming their main locations. In a majority of cases, for most of the zones, the fusion reactors are going to be the answer to your prayers when it comes to a location to farm these modules. Now, previously, you had to have shards to activate the reactor at all. Now, that is no longer an issue. Void shards are only consumed upon using the reconstruction device at the end to open amorphous patterns. So if you don't have any amorphous patterns nor any void shards, these reactors are still free real estate to farm for these module drops. So Kingston, only having one fusion reactor, gives us one simple solution as to where we should go to try and farm these 3 particular modules. And that is the one fusion reactor here. So if we activate this here, as you can see, I don't even have enough shards here, 22 out of 45. But as I said, that no longer matters. And so if we kill the main spawn here, they actually recently added a second enemy that spawns here. So if we kill both of these guys, as you can see, that gives us 2 chances at a drop. The common theme you'll see throughout this video is you want to use locations that have the highest and quickest density and volume of yellow bar enemies to kill, whether it just be named enemies or if it is just regular yellow bars, does not matter. It's any yellow bars in the case of modules. And so in the case of a fusion reactor with 2 yellow bar bosses, it takes, what, 10-15 seconds to finish a reactor, killing both enemies. Those odds are pretty good when it's such a high quantity compared to if you're going to go run Magister Lab or Slumber Valley all the way through entirely. Plus, not to mention, one of the Transcendent mods is also a reward chance here at the reactor as well. So that is another layer of opportunity to particularly get one of those Transcendent mods here as well. Moving on to Sterile Lands, you have 2 choices to pick between. It's kind of a pick your poison situation on what you prefer. The repository fusion reactor over here has 2 bosses that spawn. One spawns close and then one spawns across a little bridge, so the gap in the bridge could be a little bit of annoying to you. Rockfall spawns one directly on the reactor and then one guy up to the left on a platform. He's a little bit stronger than the second enemy over here in repository, but there's no big gap in between where he spawns, so if you prefer that, you could run that over there. In the case of Sterile Lands, we have Regenerative Braking, Super Senses, Venom Synthesis, Electric Transition, and lastly, the mod we have here, which is Cold Snap Watch at this fusion reactor. So those 5 are all 2.5% acquisition chances from different missions around Sterile Lands. Most of the times it is the fusion reactors and the main missions of the zones that have a chance to drop them. If we look at these over here, as you can see, Venom Synthesis is there, Super Senses is there. Now, Aggressive Melody is one of the 2 new Luna mods added with the Season 1 update to the game. Sadly, the 2 new Luna mods are excluded from this list of mission monster drops. You can only get them from completing the mission. So for those, you're going to have to go grind the missions until you get them to drop, or get lucky via combining modules. I believe I got lucky on Singer's Mercy from combining modules, but for Aggressive Melody, I did had to farm one of these missions. But at least they do give 2 options. So if you get bored of one mission or one of them is a slower mission, you can pick the faster or mission you prefer to go farm those out. And just like that, you can kill them and run it right back, just like this. Now we're in Rockfall, and this is the other fusion reactor with 2 bosses, so I just wanted to quickly show this one to you guys, so you can get a visual idea of what to expect at each one of these. But either way, you're going to have 2 kills per run, and then rinse and repeat. So one other quick thing to note, some of these modules are actually in 2 different zones as well. So if there are zones that overlap in a particular module that you need, then you do have a chance to potentially be able to focus farm a little bit better. This one, for example, is Sterile Land only. Super Senses, however, is Sterile Land as well as White Knight Gulch. So if you have more modules you need to farm in White Knight Gulch, well then we can go to White Knight Gulch to farm Super Senses in the location I will show you a bit later in the video. Now for the Vespers, the 5 mods focus farmable here are Water Play, Cold Bloodedness, Electric Condense, Void Explosion, and lastly, Nerve Infiltration. So the particular Void Fusion Reactor here that you'll want to farm, all 3 of these are only a single boss, unfortunately. But the one that is least annoying, in my opinion, is going to be the Moonlight Lake up top north fusion reactor boss. The other 2 bosses here are ones that have the immunity orbs that spawn above their heads, which is never a fun time. So I prefer the non-immunity orb guy. This guy does have his own little immunity bubble around him, but in my opinion, this is way less annoying than doing the triple orbs thing. But it's a really great change they made to not have these cost at all to be able to farm these, because now this gives a great way to be able to go farm Transcendent modules without needing to waste your shards to do it. Now, in the past, you could technically still farm these bosses, any of them that had more than one. You could still do this before the patch. You would pay to start it, But if you didn't fully complete and kill both bosses in a fusion reactor, you could actually kill one of the yellow bar bosses and then abort the mission and restart it, and it wouldn't take the shard cost. So technically there was still a little bit of a loophole to be able to farm these before the update, but obviously we don't have to worry about that anymore. But before anybody says, oh, you could do this before, trust me, I know. I was doing this pretty early on. I, in fact, actually farmed mods using this strategy before the update ever even came out in base game. So now for Echo Swamp, there actually are only 4 modules: Void Domination, Explosive Evade, Singer's Mercy. Once again, that is one of the newer Luna mods. You can only farm that in Seed Vault. We have Cold Bloodedness over here at this reactor, and then we have Void Explosion over here at this reactor. So our boss of choice is going to be the Muskeg Swamp Fusion Reactor boss. Over here on the west side of the zone, we're going to fight the Ice Cream Cone. So unfortunately, once again, both of these bosses are a 2-phase that have the orbs. But of the 2 orb bosses, this one is definitely the least annoying. And he stays close sometimes. The other boss, if somebody is doing the void fragment above his zone, he aggroes them and tries to run up after them. This guy just kind of chills under here in this little area, and it's kind of a vibe down here. Every so often there's a couple of enemies that come waltzing on in, but nothing too dangerous. It's a pretty chill spot to farm. So I don't mind this spot at all here. It's not too bad. And this guy, if you're hitting him in the crit, dies very quickly. So, yeah. But that is that for the Echo Swamp location. Now let's move on to Agna Desert. Moving on to Agna Desert, we yet again have 5 modules. The first one being Matrix Recomputation here in Caligo Ossuary. If we move around the map, we have Power Unit Change at this fusion reactor down here. The mission over here on the east side, the Asylum has First Aid Kit, and the fusion reactor has Glacial Cloud. And lastly, up top here, this fusion reactor, which is going to be our reactor of choice, has Battle Suit Melting Rounds. So those are the 5 focus mods here. Now, Agna Desert really kicks it up, because we have not only 1, not only 2, but we have 3 and 4 bosses that spawn at this fusion reactor. So as you can imagine, this one is very efficient to farm. 4 chances at a Transcendent mod per run is great. These trackers can be a little bit strong, but when they're insta spawns right away right here, it's really, you can't get much more efficient than that. Kill all 4 of them, run back over, rinse and repeat. This is in fact actually the reactor I used to get my final Transcendent mod I was missing in the game before Season 1 began. First Aid Kit was the one Transcendent mod I was missing from the Asylum mission, and I ran the mission a few times, but that was actually the time I went to seek out a better method of farming these, and I came across the reactors kind of being a very efficient method to farm any of the Transcendent mods that are related to different field zones. So next, let's hop into White Knight Gulch, and let's keep her going for you guys. Moving into White Knight Gulch, Mystery's End, we have Super Senses. As we move around the map, Fusion Reactor here has Electric Transition. Moving around the northern side over here, we have Biolab with Attacking Compulsion right alongside it. Backdraft coming from probably the most notoriously hard fusion reactor in the game before they nerfed them down a bit, but this White Knight Gulch guy was literally a raid boss before they rebalanced him. So yeah, good times there, good times over at that guy. But yeah, backdraft there. And then lastly, the fusion reactor of our choice, which is the one that has multiple bosses in this zone, has Toxic Stimulation. So we're here. We're going to go ahead and spawn this one really quickly. I have a fellow Sharon here coming over from probably farming 99s over there, I assume, for Ultimate Bunny. But we got this enemy here. The second one spawns right up here. And these guys are very weak. very easy kills. So yeah, pop 2 quick kills there, and rinse and repeat as per usual. This one's kind of annoying. After you get a kill here, the reconstruction device spawns right on top of where the boss spawns, so you kind of gotta like leg him, sort of, or I guess if you're using rockets or explosives, then you can optionally do that. But this is most definitely the most efficient reactor here. So without further ado, let's get on to Hagios. Moving along to Hagios, we have Old Mystery with Truly Deadly Cuisine. This reactor has Nimble Footsteps. The Haven has Void Charge. This reactor over here has Supply Moisture, pretty popular choice for Valbies out there. And lastly, the reactor we're going to use has Battlesuit Melting Rounds, or Sharon. Now, this reactor is the one of choice because it has the most bosses at 3. There's one other reactor that has 2 bosses here, but they spawn kind of spread out. This one used to spawn all 3 in one spot. They do kind of spawn spread out now as well, but it's really not too big of a deal. Kill the first guy here. Second one spawns over there. Kill him. And lastly, we have one over here. Now, I suppose if you're not too fond of the trackers because of their higher health pools, you could run the 2 boss one instead. So if you prefer killing this first guy here and want to just do a couple of them before you rinse and repeat, you could optionally pick that one instead. But I'm showing the highest quantity of enemies, and for the most part, none of these guys are particularly too crazy strong to really warrant avoiding any of them. So in most cases, the more bosses, the more efficient it will be. I suppose if you're rocking a sniper rifle, you could make an argument for this one as well. If you land your shots, then this one technically might be worthwhile over here. Missed my headshot, what a goat. There it is. You could technically stand here, kill those 2, and restart just like that. But obviously, sniper rifle ammo is not going to be too plentiful. Obviously, unless you're running Glay here, or maybe Enzo, or a character of those sorts. Honestly, I think those are really the only 2. I guess Haley is another sniper rifle candidate these days. But this is your alternative option for Hagios. So if this suits your needs more efficiently, then by all means, farm right here instead over in the Corrupted Zone. Throughout the fortress, we once again have Backdraft. We have Attacking Compulsion, which once again I believe is a mod that's been elsewhere. We have Toxic Stimulation here, which I believe is making its first appearance. Down here we have Diamagnetic Bulwark. And once again, one of the new Luna mods, Singer's Mercy, is also farmable in Quarantine Zone, which Quarantine Zone is actually a very fast mission. The boss might take a little bit longer than others, or it could be a bit more annoying than others, but very efficient mission. Quarantine Zone, I'd say, is top 5, if not top 3 fastest dungeon missions in the game currently, the infiltration ops. So don't sleep on that mission. And lastly, we have Supply Moisture once again over here at this fusion reactor, which will be the farm of choice. Oh, hello. We actually have somebody spawning it in here. So this is a 2-phase boss, but as are all the other bosses. This boss has the immunity orbs, but I think this one is a bit better than the others, as the other bosses are the ones that spawn a bunch of mobs all over the place around. And those ones are a little bit slower, unless maybe, I guess, if you're on, say, Bunny or an AoE character, those ones could be a bit quicker. But I think this is probably the best of the bosses here. Now, lastly, this part doesn't directly focus on what I wanted to highlight in this video, which was all the focus farmable locations for the specific field Transcendent mods out there. Obviously, all of the bosses have specific Transcendent mods. Now, if you are an unfortunate soul who is missing any mods from here, and you struggle to or cannot farm the higher level bosses, then your next best bet will be to go for hard mode Devourer and farm him for Transcendent mod drops. If you do not know, I believe you get guaranteed at least 2 Transcendent mod drops per hard mode boss kill. Now, Devourer can be a bit of a damage check but with the right tools, build, and or character, you should be able to make quick work of Devourer and take him down without too much effort to get yourself lots of modules to turn in at Silion for combining modules. And with that, that pretty much covers things for today's video, guys. I just wanted to make a quick breakdown and a rundown on efficient methods and strategies I used to focus farm those last few Transcendent mods I was missing when I was gunning for 561 out of 561 modules in the game. I hope it helps you guys out in the grind. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for future videos to come. Other than that, stay grinding, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.